Coach Brandon Eggum from University of Minnesota. We'll start with you first.
Yeah, just welcome. We're excited to be here as a program. We're happy we were able to bring all 10 of our athletes and compete. We had a good season, I think, dual meet wise, and we got a lot of new faces in our lineup that have developed really well over the years. So just looking forward to the next few days here battling against the best.
Great. Next, Coach Neil Erisman from Little Rock. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be home. I grew up in Kansas City, and this is Kansas City was the first time I saw the NCAA championships. I think it was 2003 at Kemper Arena, and so it's good to be home. It's good to be back seeing family and friends. We had a great season. It seems like not just a short time ago we didn't have a program, and now we're bringing 5 guys to the NCAA tournament, winning the regular season Pac-12 championship, and putting 3 conference champions. So it's been a really incredible season for us. We've had a lot of things happen and that have made us really grateful and humbled us in the process. So I'm excited about what this weekend brings and the direction that we can go from here on.
Great. It's great to have you back. Coach Brian Smith from the University of Missouri. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. I was just looking something up. It's the 11th time since I've been the head coach at Missouri we've had the Nationals in the state of Missouri, so I'm kind of spoiled that we get to have it, and the growth it's meant to our program. When you host a national tournament, the publicity, just the draw, the media, and the young kids that, hearing Neil was at the national tournament in 2003. I don't know what age he was, but I know where I was. But it's amazing the impact it has on the youth and just the community too of wrestling, and the growth it caused in our state, and how our program has followed and grown, and we're bringing 10 guys here again. It's special, so it's good to be home.
Great, thank you. Coach Kevin Dresser from Iowa State.
Yeah, thanks for having us and having this. I might be the only person from Ames, Iowa that has never been in this building or the Iowa the power light thing across the street. So, boy, it's a neat venue, and I tell you what, the fans are going to have a great experience here. This is a great place to host the NCAA championships. It's a beautiful building inside. Iowa State, we qualified 9 athletes. I've said all year long, this is a really good team, and now it's time for them to show up and prove me right. But we've had a great season and a great championship a couple weeks ago. So I know our athletes are excited like all the other competitors here. So that's what I've got.
Great. All right. Well, we're going to open it up. If you would, again, state your name and your affiliation. Thank you.
Mike Finn from Web Magazine. For Neil, this is a question for you. You said you were humbled in the process in the 5 years since you've had your program. Could you talk about what were some of those humbling experiences, and how tough has it been, and what recommendations would you make to any other new program, especially in a so-called non-resident state like yours?
Yeah, I mean, when, historically I wrestled at Oklahoma State and we won a lot, and then I was fortunate enough to go to Carolina and we were winning a lot there, and you win one Division I dual meet in 3 years, that'll humble you pretty quick. And little things like not being able to completely fill a lineup year one, and then just in the recruiting process, just a lot of student athletes that didn't choose your school, that chose others, and there's just a lot of different situations that when you start from scratch, it's completely different than rebuilding, that you have to go through, and getting your head kicked in for so many years is and keeping a smile on your face and celebrating the little things. That'll humble you real quick, and that'll make you grateful for these types of moments. So I would say that that's a combination of a lot of tough times, a lot of tough situations that got us to this point.
Would you recommend other new programs go through what you did? Kick in the head?
I mean, that's a tough question. On the back end, absolutely. During the middle of it, you got to have perspective. You got to have, honestly, you got to have a strong foundation in your life to continue to live on. To go through that. So absolutely, I would recommend it. This is very much a great sport for new programs. If you can come in with a strong message, a strong value system, and be able to communicate effectively, you can grow pretty quickly, I believe.
Great, right here on the front row.
Hi, Rachel Gallardo with Intermat for Coach Erisman as well. You got 5 qualifiers. It's your 5th year being a program. Tell me a little bit about how it just feels to, you have this many qualifiers, and also I guess the eyes that have been on the program this year. You've had some awesome upsets as a dual team. You've had several Pac-12 champions, won that championship. What has that felt like to you? What has that felt like to, I guess, in the recruiting sense, and also just as a team culture as well?
I mean, it's unbelievable. It's a lot of fun. We've had a great time this year, and there's been some years where we were just trying to make it through the season. And so I'm really happy for my guys that they get to experience this. There's guys that have been here since the beginning. I was standing on tennis courts painting pictures in thin air of what our facility was going to look like, and those guys are going to be here at the national tournament today. So I'm very excited about my young guys, but I'm more happy for my older guys and what they went through, and the perseverance and the tenacity that it took to stay the course. It says a lot about their character and how they've developed. So I'm just super happy for those guys right now.
Here to your left.
Tony Hager, Russell, Coach Dresser, fresh off Big 12 championships, positives and negatives to take away from that tournament individually. One guy in particular, Casey Swiderski, he's been a guy that you guys have had to control emotions. What was the message to him going into this championships?
Well, I don't think it's any secret that Casey's a high energy guy, and he gets fired up easy, and he's still pretty young. He's only in his second year of college. He's a true sophomore. I think that losing in the semifinals was probably perfect for him. You know, I always say you're either winning or learning, and he learned a lot there. He learned that he had to change his style, his approach to the match. And then when things got tough, he's continuing to learn that he's got to control his emotions. Has he mastered it? Probably not, but we got to keep that fire, but we got to keep that fire in the right place. So we'll all get to see how he progresses the next 3 days, but I think he learned a lot, and I think probably losing that match in the semis might have been a blessing for him right there.
Also for Coach Dresser, talking to younger Bastida back at Media Day, he had mentioned that he felt like this team could have 5 to 6 All-Americans, and then asking Derek St. John later in the year, he's like, after what they saw with Cliff Keen, he felt like, hey, maybe we could have more. Can you just talk about the confidence of this team as to how it's grown throughout the year and trying to get that team trophies you guys have been striving for since kind of day one of the season?
No, I think we have 9 individuals that have a lot of confidence, but we have to keep in mind that there's a lot of guys that are weighing in right beside them that have a lot of confidence too. So, I always say to do really well at the NCAA championships, you have to be able to do 2 things. One, you have to be really good as an individual, and then you got to have some breaks sometimes. There's just you got to win those close matches. Sometimes you got to get those guys in black and white on your side, and you just have to have a few breaks. But I think if this team can get some breaks, they can really be happy with what ends up Saturday night.
Right here, back here, Aaron, on your left.
Aaron Ladd, KSHB. These are for you, Brian. You talked about the impact of this tournament on the area and the state. For the Eggums to come back and have this spotlight, what does that mean to you and your program?
It's a pretty cool story. I was in the Grand Canyon, and it was after season, and I think I knew the committee was coming out with the places they were going to be, and I came out of it, and my phone started to blow up like it normally does anyway when I don't have it on. And I saw, hey, that's awesome, that's awesome. I'm like, oh, what is so awesome? And I had to look it up, and I saw the year we were getting it in Kansas City, so of course, because of damn COVID, I had to figure out, would Zach still be eligible? And I figured it out, and then that was the first 2 people. I texted them together. I said, Zach Rock, man, Zach's senior year will be in Kansas City. So they were very excited about it. I've known them since they, I think, were like 4 and 5 years old. And we were doing camps and clinics out here for his dad, and it's just the relationship I have with them. They're special, they're very special young men. And I know the impact they're doing camps all over the state. Kids know them and love them. That this will be fun for those young kids to be at this type of venue. Beautiful, packed house, seeing the Elam brothers going out there and doing special things.
What are your conversations like with Keegan in the build-up? How do you get the best out of him here?
You don't have to push him too much. He loves to be in the practice room. And that's what I always say, that's what makes him special, the way he trains. And it's not just during the practice, it's what he does after. and how technical he is and breaking things down in his preparation. So he's just a special one that's fun to coach. And it's fun, like when we get to wrestle David, they're both that way. That when, I think Coach said it to me one time, Kevin said it to me one time after they had a great match. It's like, man, we're kind of lucky to sit in the corner with those two and the way they compete at such a high level, and fans get to watch it.
Great, to your right.
This is a question for Coach Eggum. Could you give us your perspective of what the team learned from the Big Tens, and in your mind, what will it take for your group to have a strong performance here at Nationals?
Yeah, for us, the big thing, we'll just have some of our leaders come through. We got 3 6-year guys coming back. Patrick McKee at 125 was a couple-time All-American, and we'd need a guy like him to go out and perform and have the tournament that he's capable of having. Isaiah Salazar winning the Big Ten championships, that was important in a lot of ways. I think it's as tough to win that tournament as it is this one. I mean, it's extremely competitive. So he's had a really solid, consistent season. We'll need points from him. Michael Blockus is a guy that we polled after that first round of the Big Ten championships. He's had an amazing season. We knew it would affect his ranking a little bit, and it did, but he's a guy that believes if he's 100% that he can go through the bracket here and do great things and win a national title, and we thought it was more important for him to be healthy than to battle through that, and it affected his seed a little bit, but I know he's excited for the tournament. And then we have some other young guys that competed really well, so the big thing is just keep getting better, try to focus on performance versus winning is a big thing that we talk about, and so yeah, we're in some, I think like everybody, you look at the bracket, you find a million reasons why you think you're in a tough spot, but it's one match at a time, and just be excited and well compete, and that's what we're going to do.
Back here on the podium to your left.
Jack Bartlett, in front of Intel. This is for Neil. With this being the last year that ASU is in the Pac-12 wrestling, I was just curious what you hope for the future of Pac-12.
Yeah, I mean, we actually have a 1-year waiver with the Pac-12, so the Pac-12 will exist for at least one more season. We hope to see kind of where the landscape of college athletics goes to make better decisions for wrestling in the West. It's important that we keep wrestling in the West, and we allow more regional competition out there by not disbanding. But I think we're all going to do what's best for wrestling first, and then try to focus on us afterwards.
Back on the podium as well.
Coach Erisman, PJ Green, Fox 4 KC. I know you were on the Kansas side, but you still in KC. Just how have you seen this area grow in wrestling, and how do you use that to your advantage in recruiting?
Well, I mean, I got a lot of relationships here, mainly because I wrestled with everybody in this area, and I did grow up watching Coach Smith grow his program, and it's been unbelievably impressive with that, and in the different clubs in the areas and guys coming back. Wrestling has really exploded. It's always been great here. There's always been a lot of great talent. There's a lot of national champs that are coming out of this area, and world team members and things of that sort. So I think that this place is, if you don't know already, it's a hidden gem for wrestling and recruiting, and there's always talent coming in and out.
Great, right here in the red sweatshirt.
Tony Hager, MN Wrestle. This is for Coach Eggum. Michael Blockus came back to you, had an opportunity to get in the ring. MMA, UFC is continuing to grow. What are the positives of wrestlers doing both in and out of season as a collegiate athlete?
Yeah, I think the one thing is the training's real similar. So I think that was the big reason for Michael to make the decision to come back and compete. After last year's NCAA championship, he became an All-American. His first initial instinct was I was coming back. After he took a few weeks off and he started thinking about his long-term dream, which was always to get into the MMA. He changed his mind, had some opportunities, and he decided that he was going to go. He went and fought in August, and I think he just realized in that process he still felt like he was missing something. That was a chance to win an NCAA title. So he called us up and just said, hey, I'm looking at coming back. We were obviously thrilled to hear that. And talking through the process, he just felt like the training that he would go through this season would keep him in a position that was really positive to be ready to go right back into MMA and fight. And I believe he might have a fight that's as quick as April, as soon as the season is over. And so, so I just think there's a lot of positives. It does give another outlet for guys that compete in this sport another opportunity for them afterwards to go earn money and continue to compete and do something that they're very good at. A lot of them have shown in the world of MMA that the wrestlers have had high success, maybe the best.
You're on the front row.
I hope all four of you can answer this question. Seeding is always a question or topic when we come to these tournaments, but the fact that this year, when guys get injured and cannot wrestle in a conference tournament, it really seems to drop them down a bit. Do you like how they're handling seeding now? What recommendations, what changes would you make? Start with Brandon, since you got blockouts.
Yeah, I would just say I think I think there needs to be a human side of it a little bit more involved, because I think that there are situations that are strange, where you see guys fall into spots where it doesn't make sense, I guess, from that side of it. So I'd like to see some changes. I think it's necessary. I know it's never going to be perfect, and every year this is something people look at the brackets. They're always talking about that situation, and yeah, you look at it. We had Blockus, Sparks runs into Carter on the front side there too, and I look at a guy like him, everything he's accomplished and where he drops, depending on where his health is, that's pretty drastic in some cases.
I'm probably going to defer to the wisdom in the room, but I'll just say that there's no easy match regardless of where you're at. There's no situation that's ideal. Some of these coaches have been through a lot more seeding processes than I have, and so yeah, you definitely want some accountability there to make sure that it's being done right and that we get the best spots. But I mean, in the end, it is what it is, and you got to show up and wrestle.
I remember one year I thought the world was against me, so I took the wisdom of my mother and stopped complaining, and I got on the committee. And when you're in that room, I was in that room for 4 years, you learn a lot about the seeding, and there's no deals being made. There's not like all that you guys claim or people on chat rooms claim. I laugh about it. There is a system, and a computer spits it out, and it shows where they can go, and then you argue about certain things. I was kicked out of the room a lot of the times because my guys were up for seeds, so I walked around the NCAA offices a lot. I almost got the wooden triangle memorized because I would be out there a lot during some of those years. But it's a very fair system, and I know they're trying to do their best. There were times we used an eye test, and I don't know what went on in the room. But to me, it just seemed like it went away from the eye test a little bit. But if that's what they're going to do, it would be nice to know that in the beginning of the year as a coach, that we're going straight by the computer or straight by this, or we're going to use some judgment on it. Because I remember when I was in there, we had to see Kyle Snyder with 6 matches, and we used an eye test and said probably should put it this way. Maybe I shouldn't even be saying these things, but but it did, and it worked out pretty good. But there's nothing you can do about it. And so the wisdom of my mother, just figure it out and know it and do the best you can.
Kevin?
Yeah, I think Coach Smith nailed it in terms of, first off, it's a tough job for those people in the room. It's kind of like being an official. Everybody gets mad at the officials, but until you put those shoes on and those stripes on, it's not an easy job. And so being on that committee is not easy either. I would say the one thing that Brian just said, though, is I think there's got to be an eyeball test, and I was exactly thinking when you asked that question, Mike, about the Kyle Snyder situation they obviously kind of use common sense. So I think there's got to be a common sense factor and not just go completely 100% off numbers, because there's a couple there that look kind of funny just because I think you hit a guy like Carter Strachey too hard there. Not that Carter's where he's going to wrestle everybody in the building and out in the parking lot. But for the rest of the competitors, it probably was something that probably should have been looked at a little better.
Great. Anyone else? Oh, right here in the blue.
Question for Coach Smith. You have a comment from the Des Moines Register. You mentioned it a little bit about David and O'Toole kind of just being able to they're guys that don't really need the motivation. But how much do you think that rivalry, in a sense, has been able to drive them to reach new heights in their competitions over the last year or so?
I mean, anytime you have a great rival like that pushes you and is really good. I mean, they've beaten each other, so it just drives. You can't just show up to the mat you've got to be prepared, and it's not like a week of preparation. They're preparing for each other the minute the match is over. And so it's just, you know, when you're going on the mat against David, you're going to have the best effort, the best prepared. You know, with the coaching staff over there, it's a great coaching staff, so he's got to be ready, and it's the mental side of it too, that it's just, man, I did this and it worked this time, but now I got to be ready for the next. Just it makes it fun, but it's great for the fans too. These matchups end up, but we can't. Right now, he's focused on his first round matchup, and focus. If David's there, we'll be there. If we're there, you know, that's this tournament. You can't really worry about matchups. You got to worry about the one that's in front of you.
Right here on the right, or sorry, on your left.
Tony Hager again here. I think just a short answer from all four of you would be NIL. Is it a positive or negative for our sport specifically?
I think it's a positive because I have a lot of young men that are out there right now and they're still paying off debts, you know, from loans in college because we were limited to 9.9, and I just see the money they can make now actually working, making a decent amount of money working camps or getting free food at a restaurant and things like that that were illegal. And I explained this to our football staff that, you know, we're at 9.9, you had 85 guys on full rides. And they're like, you have 40 guys on your team. Yeah, I said, do the math. And so this is, you know, for our sport, it really helps. Yes, is it more work on us? Of course, but wrestling coaches know how to do that work. When the rule first became, I said wrestling coaches are the most prepared because of, you know, regional training centers and all these things we've been raising money for. So we just make a shift, and now we got to raise money for the, you know, and doing things for that and going out and trying to find it. So it's, but for the student athletes, it definitely takes a little stress off their lives with, you know, having money to pay for school and having a little extra finally. And so I think it's a good thing.
Anyone else want to comment to that?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I see the positive side of it for the kids. You know, it's great that they can make money and do those things. It's tough. You see some programs like our program, we lost a number of guys. We've been really fortunate that, you know, we still have 10 guys here today, which says a lot, you know, and that's without having a guy like Abel Steveson come back this year. So you can imagine how strong our team was or is at that moment. But I've seen some other programs, and, you know, and some of those teams really got, you know, ripped apart. And so for those, your heart feels for in a sense, and you hope that they can continue to build so it's not too part of a negative effect on those programs, so they can get back to where they need to be and continue to have a wrestling program. So.
I would say I'm a little torn. I'll let you know after the tournament how I feel and kind of, you know, some of the people already circling our program. You know, obviously there's a lot of positives in it, but when you're a program like our size, this is, you know, we're kind of primed for the picking, and so this is where I have to step up and make sure that you know, we're doing what it takes to take care of our guys and show them they're valued here. And I think that's going to be the next big piece is, you know, your athletes need to feel valued more than just, you know, the dollar sign in your program. And I think that's what we're doing well, and we're gonna do our best to compete, you know, at such a high level, at that level of NIL if we can, and hope for the best there.
Yeah, it's a tough game. It really is. I like it that the athletes are getting paid because wrestlers have always, you know, had to kind of take a back seat to the football and basketball money. So the competitive side of me looks at it like when I was an athlete, and boy, it would have been nice to get paid and get paid handsomely if you're really good. Right now, they're going to get paid handsomely. It's just, you know, it forces you as a coach in a program to jump in what level you're jumping in at. If you want to win and you want to win at a high level, you got to jump in at a high level financially. And you know, when a lot of kids are going to get pulled a lot of ways in a week. They're going to get pulled in directions, and they're going to have all sorts of people calling them up, and it's going to be a crazy 40, probably, I think the portal opened, what, today or yesterday? Today? So it's going to be a crazy, you know, let's give it 3 days to get a tournament over, but it's going to be, instead of a 45 days, it's going to be a crazy 40 days. I'm just telling y'all. It's going to be a crazy 40 days, and it's, you know, there's just different levels of it, and you know, it forces you to be in places you don't want to be sometimes, on the asking side and on the giving side. So it's really going to be different. You know, it changed a lot last year with dollar amounts, and it's going to change even more this year in terms of dollar amounts and volatility. It's going to be interesting. I'm not saying I'm liking it. I'm just saying, unfortunately, this is the space we're in, and you either play by the rule book or you get run over. It's not a game that I can say as a coach that doesn't have a lot of years left on my resume that I'm excited to play.
With that, coaches, thank you for being in Kansas City. We are thrilled you are here. As a college wrestling fan myself, grateful that you're here. Good luck to all of your athletes this weekend, and we'll see you down on the mats. Thank you.